Hardik, welcome to the podcast. Hardik Jagda is an engineer turned entrepreneur, speaker, and angel investor. He is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Proximity Works, overseeing Proximity Tech, Studio Proximity PX Ventures, 42PX Media, Proximity Foundation, and Colarity AI. He founded Proximity in 2019 as a tech consulting company, bootstrapping it into the global powerhouse it is today. Today, Proximity operates across the United States, India, Dubai, with teams in 25 cities, solving high stakes engineering challenges in AI for media and entertainment, live sports, financial tech, and enterprise AI. First and foremost, now, tell me about who you were before you started all this. So, like your mindset to starting your first company, how that was, and kind of how that launched you into where you are today.
Yeah, I grew up in Mumbai, Michael, in a lower middle class family, making about $150 a month. Coding was my ticket out. I used to spend countless hours since I was in school. I used to spend countless hours in the computer lab from morning 7 to like 9 p.m. at night, and I used to be the first one coming in, opening the lab, and then the last one to get out. Uh, and
Did
the
you go to
school was
college
already,
or
yeah, I did, of course, I did.
what did you study in
Uh,
college?
I studied IT in India. It's the equivalent of software engineering degree,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's I worked for six product startups before I started my first company in 2019. But the same principle guided me in 2019 when I started Proximity, because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, when you're in the early stages, every hour of output has to matter. And
Ah,
that same principle guided me when I started Proximity. So we weren't building any shiny AI demos. Over the past 3 years, most of our work has been in AI. We weren't building any shiny AI demos. We were building systems that had to survive game day. They had to handle record traffic. They have to scale globally. And so the discipline of those early years became the discipline of how we build AI today. Faster pilots, ruthless focus on ROI, and systems that actually work in the Monday morning workflow.
yeah. So now let's talk about AI for just a moment. First and
Yeah.
foremost, do you find it difficult? This might be a strange question, but do you find it difficult to stick to a mission statement, game plan when the landscape of AI is changing so quickly? It's almost like aggravating where you kind of have this operating procedure or you have this process you're sticking towards, and then you kind of see this kind of next edge in AI, and that opens a whole
Yeah.
bunch of doors, and then you wonder, hey, are my competitors getting one up on me? And you can never get complacent in this industry.
Yeah.
Do
Exactly.
you feel like that is a source of frustration, or and do you have any predictive power of where this industry is heading in the next 5 to 10 years, where you can at least pace yourself accordingly and kind of have your eye on a direction?
One of the things that have helped us set apart is our culture of rapid experimentation, because no matter how fast technology changes, the models will keep on changing. But what doesn't change is how you show up every day. What is the framework that you follow as yourself and as your team? So we have something called as a rapid AI experimentation framework that we use internally, ruthlessly, pretty much for everything that we do, from all the products that we built till date to any of the client consulting problems that we are solving at scale.
Hmm.
The framework is pretty simple. We work backwards from revenue. We are looking at what are the core workflows that a team follows today. And we start with that workflow idea. But the framework allows us to consistently innovate and test those ideas, fail a lot when we are building proof of concepts and when we're piloting things. But the idea is to take a workflow idea, turn it into a revenue generating AI pilot within a few weeks. And if you're not able to show any kind of result in a week, then we scrap the idea and we start over.
Right. Walk me through a process. So, someone comes up to you saying, "Hey, I run a company. I do ABC. How can
Yeah.
you guys help me?" And how do you take something that's like a little esoteric and nuanced and break it down in a way that's easily digestible to someone and where they can actually feel and understand the value proposition coming from your end?
I'll give a simple example. So we one of our global sports clients, they have a fan base in the hundreds of millions all over the world. They're and this is common across all sports leagues and all broadcasters. that after every game night, every single week, they would spend the entire, like their content and marketing teams would spend the entire night going through the match footage. They would look at key moments that have happened in that match. They would timestamp it and create thumbnails and put together like one highlights package that they would
Right.
then publish on different platforms. And this normally takes them 6 to 7 hours every single week. And this was a common pattern that we observed when we were working with all of these sports leagues and broadcasters over the past 6 years. And so we built an AI system called MetaVision. MetaVision is an AI engine that watches the game for you, and it detects the key moments. It creates thumbnails. It syncs commentary. It adds
Quick question,
captions.
Hardik.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
yeah,
I'm genuinely curious because obviously, like AI is a great solution where it can like stuff that you can patternize and delegate.
yeah.
The first line of attack for AI would be something where it can, hey, just do a lot of the grunt work for you. I'm
Hmm.
curious in this situation, what kind of nuances does it pick up on to determine whether a moment's considered a highlight would be of high human interest? I'm just out of curiosity. So, you mentioned that the AI goes through these clips and it can
Yeah.
do all the slicing for you. Is there a way like that? Because these things are a little bit of black boxes where we're not entirely sure systematically how they work. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't, depending on who you
It's getting
ask
better.
and
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
Yeah, but is there any sort of intuition where you like? Is it just like a magic box where you go, hey, just throw the video in here, and we've kind of given a whole bunch of data, and we've just constantly given it responses, so it's refined its behavior? Or do you kind of see it like a little bit more like a computer science program where you can logically kind of break down steps?
A little bit of both. There are certain things which are highly predictable. If you prompt it the right way, if you create the right guardrails, then the results are highly predictable in that
Mm,
sense. So when we're talking about sports highlights, I'll just talk about sports highlights in general for now because I just gave some context around it. Um, when you watch when you watch any match highlights, you generally see all key moments. If you're talking about soccer, for instance, you're looking at all the goals that have happened, all the near misses that have happened, all the saves that have happened, and the model is pretty good at detecting those. The things that sometimes it's not good at, or what humans have to put in a lot of time to figure out, is what would identify as a key moment that a fan would really care about and would engage with,
mm,
which has happened with the athlete. So I personally, uh, when I'm watching a match, I want to see what my favorite athlete did in that entire soccer match, not just what the entire match key moments were.
right.
So how do you create all of that? Right now, if you have to do all of that, then all of that is manual work. AI models are getting better and better at identifying
Yeah.
those key moments that fans would care about, and we fine tuned our models to actually do that.
And it's not even objective. So it's like
Yeah,
you might be like, oh no, it did a bad batch. Like this
yeah,
doesn't look like a key moment. And you play this moment and you get a lot of positive responses. And you're like, oh, it somehow knew something I didn't. Because if I was the one slicing it up, I wouldn't have done that.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. So we create like 20 different types of highlight packages, which is unheard of. Like if you look at uh, if you look at the general highlights package that any match that is followed by any match, after the match has happened, you generally see just like a generic key moments that have happened altogether, right? But what we create can be used by we create like brand specific highlights, we create player specific highlights, sponsor specific highlights, team specific highlights. So if you're a fan of a certain team, you want to really see the near miss moments or the thrilling moments that where you were at the edge of your seat, and how can you relive that? That is something that the engine does really well, but that requires
Mm,
a lot of fine tuning. Right?
mm. I feel like one of the challenges you have in your job is making the case that using your technology that's leveraged behind AI is
Hmm.
not a luxury or a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
It leads to dollar returns. It has very specific ROI, return on investments. Now, not everyone is in the technical world. Not everyone
Right.
understands the esoteric nuances of AI. It almost sounds like just this monolith. AI is this thing that does, it's almost like futuristic. How do you make the case to someone that this is not like this futuristic, almost to be technology that's not really going to change your business, but that it's something that it's worth putting your money, your time, and your attention to? and it's not perfect, but it's 100% going to lead you in the right direction. How do you make that case to a regular end user?
Uh, I can talk about buyers in general, or like the CMOs or the CEOs of various companies. They really understand where their teams spend most of their time on, because when you set certain goals, that these are the quarterly goals or these are the like yearly goals that we are looking at, achieving this year. You know what slows them down, and where the bottlenecks are, where the repetitive things are, or the mundane things are that take so much time right now, that you end up just putting in like insane amount of effort. I'll give you an example actually. So I was at a soccer match a couple of weeks ago. Uh, the league owners had invited me to their box, and I was just talking to one of the senior executives there, and I asked them a simple question like, what does the rollout plan for you look like for any kind of highlights? And they told me the exact pitch that I normally have, which is your teams are going to spend 6 to 7 hours to create these highlights. My system does it in 15 minutes. But I didn't open with that. I just asked them a question about uh, at what point can I see the highlights of this match? And they're like, I have a team sitting behind the stadium right now, Hardik, and they're going to be here till 2 a.m. And they're going to just piece all of this together, and that'll be the first thing that we release because our fans want it. And my question was, would it help if I were able to do this in 15 minutes? And they were like, how? It's like, it's not possible. And I told them about the system afterwards. So if you start with a workflow idea, if you start with a pain point, then it becomes very easy to connect the dots
Right,
between what's hype versus what can actually give back a lot of the valuable time.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Like, you're passionate about what you do, and you understand. You're passionate to discuss the technology, use the words AI, the technical terms. At the end of the day, they want to know, how can you end the end result? So when you
Yeah.
focus on the actual returns, like, oh, how long is it going to take your guys? Oh, it's going to take
Yeah.
them like 3, 4 hours. I can do it in 15 minutes, right? You
Mhm.
didn't even say the word AI. You didn't say anything. Like,
Nothing. Nothing.
that's the
Yeah.
sales pitch right
Yeah.
there. It's
Right.
like 3 hours, 15 minutes. Which one do you want? Right. And yeah, that's actually a really interesting approach.
Yeah.
Now,
Because yeah, that's what people care about. Like of course, the questions arise later that how did you solve it? But you should never begin with the how. You begin with why it matters to them. So if you're able
right,
to, yeah, if you're able to start with a pain point, if you're able to start with how it matters to them or why it matters to them, the best way to do it is let them draw the conclusion instead of you
yeah,
trying to pitch anything. Because then
right.
there is nothing to pitch. It's like
Right, because
you
exactly, you're
you
not
are the
they don't
obvious.
feel like, right,
Yeah.
because you avoid that, like, defensive response, like, "What are you trying to feed me?" Right?
Yeah.
Instead,
Exactly.
you put the idea in their head, and they're like, "Yeah, I thought of it." Right. Yeah.
But it
Uh,
takes a lot of work to get there. Not
yeah.
it's not as straightforward every time, but
And
yeah,
and and that's not always the best approach with everyone,
yeah,
right?
of
It
course,
depends who you're
of course.
talking to.
If I'm talking to a
Right.
CTO, like they care about most of them would care about, they would talk about from compliance to storage to everything that normally it takes in any kind of enterprise buying cycle.
Yeah.
They would care about all of those details as well. But it depends on person to person, so you have to really understand who you're talking to. A
Yeah.
CFO would look at the same pitch very differently. This is something that I had to teach and coach a lot of my teams. Most of the engineers, most engineers are very good at building things, but when it comes to actually explaining how why should a user care about it, the why is different for each of the users. So if you're selling it to an enterprise, a CFO would care about different things. A CTO would care about different things. The people
Right.
actually using the product would care about different things. So
Right.
each of these pitches in a way have to be tailored towards the person that you're talking to, and it needs to understand and solve a pain point of theirs.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
So going back to, every company startup, right? You have to incur these costs. You have to weather this storm until you're subscribing to an exponential model. You're starting off really slow. You've got to compete in this well-established economic landscape, and you're underfunded and you're under-resourced, and you don't have the traction that other established companies have. And then at some point, you struggle, you hit this critical decision, you hit that inflection point, and then you start to go up. My question to you is, like, was there an early decision or a pivotal moment that took proximity from being this like underdog that has this element of uncertainty to more financial stability?
I think when I was just focusing. So I don't focus on money as an outcome. Money is a byproduct of the value that you bring to the table. So
Hmm,
I'd say the pivotal decision, even when I decided to bootstrap the company instead of fundraising, was to focus on being indispensable to global platforms, solving their
right.
hardest problems like performance and scale, not chasing any vanity projects. So that focus gives you a lot of trust, and the side effect is recurring revenue if you're continuously able to bring value.
Right.
And
It's a by
that's the base to build our AI practice as well when we started.
right. It's a byproduct of a stellar service. You give
Yeah,
value, you show value, and it's a natural law of reciprocation
yeah,
that people want to work with you. Right. But you still need to make money to keep the company alive,
yeah,
right? Ultimately.
exactly.
So, would you ever say there was a point where it's a pivotal decision you made, or like looking back, where you felt more financially stable? Was there ever like a single moment that you were like, this was feels somewhat iconic, or looking back?
I think it's just stability is a state of mind. It depends on how you are looking at things, right?
Hmm,
When you, for instance, if you close a seed round, most seed rounds have like an 18-month runway. That's how you calculate most of your seed rounds. And you have to figure things out in those 18 months to make sure that you have enough money or enough traction to raise the next round.
right.
If you've done an excellent job of building a company in those 18 months itself, then you don't really
Have those
and you to
specific
become
moments.
profitable. Yeah. So then you know that you can become self-sustaining.
Got it.
But not of most companies don't think about it in that fashion, and they learn the discipline of making money much later, which sometimes works well, sometimes doesn't work well. It's like it's not one size fits all there.
If someone wants to take a path similar to yours and they want to enter that entrepreneurial landscape, it's mired with risk, stress, anxiety, and something as AI sounds edgy, but a lot of smart people with really big budgets quickly jump on this industry. What advice would you give to someone to find success as you did?
The ways I see people standing out when they're building a company is if they have a lot of experience in a particular industry and they understand that industry really well about what are the real pain points versus what is just noise. So if
Hmm,
you are, I'd say anyone who's starting a company, there are one or two traits that are very good, which I look for in founders when I'm investing as well. Is either one, they know a lot about the industry and the core problems of that industry, and uh, they know which problems to solve, or the other one is they're like extremely quick in learning about that industry. Both of those things actually get you to the core problems much faster.
hmm,
So just starting with some of the core problems of a particular industry, picking which industry you want to stay in for the next 10 years. I chose sports because I love sports. I love the fact that it brings people together. It solved global conflicts, and it's also something that is constantly growing. So from a financial standpoint, also it makes a lot of sense to invest in there. So I would the advice would be to pick the right industry and pick the industry they care about, and pick a core problem with that industry.
yeah, well said. And I love how you mentioned sports is something that just unites countries that otherwise
Yes.
don't,
Yeah.
that have plenty of conflict.
Yep. Yep.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. How can people get in touch with you, Hardik?
But they can go on my company website, www.proximity.tech, or they can reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is h.
I appreciate your time and wisdom. Thank you for your time.